Welcome to Garden Delights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Cooperative Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. Today we're going to talk about strawberries, and we're also going to hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, and I won't tell you what he's going to talk about. We'll see just in a little bit what he is going to talk about. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Today we're going to talk about strawberries, and I'll tell you, I love strawberries and definitely buy them when they're in season because you can get the best buy. So let's talk about why they're so good for you. So I have just several strawberries here with me right now just to show you before I cut them for our recipe today. But strawberries are so good for you. But first I want to ask you, have you ever noticed that most fruits have all their seeds inside? And you know, a strawberry has all their seeds on the outside. And you know, I've never sat here and counted one, but I guarantee you there's probably over 200 seeds in that little gem right here. So let's talk about why they're so good for you. They are low in fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium. But they're very, very good in vitamin C, folate, potassium. So really, these strawberries, if you eat them, can be more vitamin C than an orange can give you. So they are great for you as far as your nutrition value. Now, as far as selection, you can see these strawberries have a really nice shine to them, and that's what you want. You want a good red color because once you get your strawberries and pick them or buy them at the grocery store, they don't ripen any longer. So you do want to make sure they're good and ripe. You also want to look at the caps, the green part, make sure it's intact and it's nice and intact to the strawberry, because that's going to tell you it's fresh and you're going to be able to keep it longer. So how long can you keep strawberries? In the refrigerator around 1 to 3 days. That's depending on what you're going to do with them. After the third day, I will tell you to try to freeze them. But when you're buying those or you're picking your own at a grocery store or out at somewhere where they have pick your owns, you know, normally you get them in a bucket or container size, and they're all stacked on top of each other. So the best way to keep these and prolong those, to keep them at 1 to 3 days in that refrigerator, you want to take them and keep them in single layers as much as possible, because that keeps them from getting bruised, and that also will help them stay longer. And you know, because strawberries will bruise and then they're going to decay and they're not going to be as good as they could if you kept them in a single layer. So just remember that when you're getting those and you're getting abundance of them, put them in single layers if you can. If you're not going to eat them in 3 days, freeze them. So let's go check out Frank at our garden center and see what he's up to. We'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights.
Today, we're out here in the shade house at the extension office. We're going to look at some geraniums. Geraniums is a major 4-H fundraiser that they do every year. In fact, Susan and I were talking about this earlier, and they've been doing this for nearly 40 years. They have been selling geraniums as a fundraiser. In the beginning, they propagated their own plants, and they grew them themselves. And of course, as the demand grew, it got to be a little bit more than they could handle. So they switched it over to a local nursery. And then just recently it moved to a nursery down in Jackson that propagates these. The stock that we grow them from has maintained, it's the same. So when the original nursery took it over, and then they transferred it to the current nursery, it's the same stock that they've been growing for quite a few years. So we have our varieties that we've done well with, and that's pretty much what we have stuck with. Every once in a while we'll bring in a new hybrid variety just to change things up a little bit, but our main demand is in the red ones. We have all kinds of colors, and people prefer different things, and so they get the color they like. We probably move a few more red ones than any of the others, but we're selling them now. As a matter of fact, we've been selling them here for a couple of weeks, and they're moving out pretty good. So we want to talk a little bit about what you do to maintain geraniums. Geraniums are they might be classified as a tender perennial, meaning they're not going to like cold weather. You're not going to get them to go through the cold weather, but they will come back with a little bit of care. And if you got them in pots where you can bring them in out of the cold weather, you'll have more success at that. Or sometimes folks will just take some stem cuttings and get them to root and keep them in the house through the winter and bring them out in the spring. But we prefer that you just come by them from the 4-H club every year. Don't worry about all of that. My first experience with bringing some through the winter is I had some that were left over one year when the geranium festival ended, and we still had a few geraniums, and they got hit with cold weather, and so they were dead. I'm just looking at dead geraniums in the pot. So I put them out behind the building, which happens to be the warm side of the building, because I was going to throw them away. I just set them by the building to throw them away. And unlike me, you know, I never did throw them away. They just sat there. And so when springtime came, I looked out there and they were back growing again. So they made it through the winter just sitting out behind the building. And we kept those for 3 or 4 years before we finally lost them. And so you can keep them from year to year. What I want to talk about right now, though, is the things that you do to keep them blooming. They will bloom all summer and stay beautiful, but there's a few things that you have to do to them. The University of Georgia has a brochure called Geraniums. And the geranium brochure tells you a lot of things about geraniums, but it doesn't necessarily touch on some of the little details about how you keep them looking good. It'll tell you about fertilizing them and all of that. So, but that is a good brochure that you get from the University of Georgia. As the plants grow and start to bloom, and I will tell you the master gardeners and the 4-Hers working in here have kept these plants good. I couldn't hardly find an old bloom because they keep them dead-headed. If you let the plant bloom and let the bloom die on the vine, the plant will sort of say, well, I was trying to go to seed and now I've done it, so I'm through. I don't need to bloom anymore. So to keep it blooming, you will take these older blooms and you will just snap them off right down close to the stem, not out on the edge, and you just discard that bloom, and you will keep these new blooms coming out on the plant, and they will stay healthy. The other thing we'll do is we'll come along here and we'll take any leaves that start looking bad around the bottom and kind of keep them trimmed up and keep all of this dead stuff cleaned out around them. The 4-Hers, as well as master gardeners, come in here and do that from time to time. That keeps them looking good, so that they're sellable and people like them when they come in here and look at them. They look really good. So that would be one. We can let's look at another one here. This one's got just an older bloom. Like I say, I don't have any really spent blooms on here, but we would take this off, and then we'd also clean up these bad looking leaves here that are laying on the bottom, and to just keep the plant looking good. And as long as you do that, it will look good and it will keep blooming all summer long. This one right here is not quite as bad. I don't need, there's one, it's got one bad leaf on it right there that we would take off. The blooms are not quite old enough to take off yet, so I'll save one for the people to work on when they come back. The other thing that they need is a little bit of fertilizer. Now they can be fertilized with a lot of different things, just a tablespoon of 10, 10, 10, a little bit of Miracle Grow once in a while to keep the leaf color looking good. We have started using this product right here, which is 1257, and it has slow release nitrogen in it. So a teaspoon of this by each plant once a month, maybe even every 6 weeks or so, will keep it going right on through the season, and that's all you have to do to it. So fertilize it, keep it watered. You also want to maintain the level of soil in the pot. Sometimes they'll dry out, and this will decline in height here, and so we keep a bag of potting soil out here in the shade house, so when one looks like it has settled down a little bit, we can add a little bit of potting soil to it. And that is about what you got to do to maintain geraniums. We've got, as you can see, we've got a lot of geraniums in here. We're selling a lot of geraniums. And there's a couple of Saturdays that will be open, and the 4-H will be out here selling geraniums on those Saturdays. You can call the extension office at 770-288-8421 and get more information on when these sale dates are going to be. Or you can stop by the extension office during the week anytime and pick out your geraniums. They're looking really good right now, so I'd come get them right now instead of waiting until they get picked over. But we're going to try to maintain them so that they're all going to be saleable right up until they're all gone for this season. And right now, we're going to go inside and see what Susan's fixing.
Welcome back to Garden Delights. We're talking about strawberries today, and I have an easy, super tasty recipe for you. So we're going to be making strawberry parfaits, and the recipe that you'll see on the web eventually is going to be for like one parfait, but I'm going to end up making like 4 of them because we have to taste them, and Frank and I both have to taste them, but I want to show you some different ways that you can do it also. So I have these little nifty glasses here, but I also have these plastic cups that are clear. So I want to kind of give you an idea that you don't always have to have a nifty little glass container like this to do your parfait. You can do it in anything, but I do like clear because then you can see all the different layers. So in the recipe, it's going to tell you to layer some granola at the bottom. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And they're going to tell you about 1/4 of a cup. And so really, I'm just going to eye it because I'm going to end up doing 4 right here. But this is about what you would be able to do in all 4 of these because I did kind of measure it out to get the 1/4 of a cup. So I do want some good granola at the bottom, and there's a lot of different types of granola out there, so I want you to pick whatever you would like, but I will like you to look at the calories and pick something low calorie if possible. So you can hear it hit my plastic. But I do want to get it in those too because I want to show you just how nice it is even if you don't have anything fancy. And I am going to save just a little bit of granola at the top, just to sprinkle once I get everything put together. So I'm going to get a little bit more in that one and a little bit more in that one. Okay, so then it's going to tell you about 1/2 cup of low-fat yogurt. Now this is a vanilla tasting yogurt, so you could use lemon if you like lemon and strawberries together. It's whatever you would like, but I will tell you to try to use low-fat or use fat-free, because then you're going to keep your calories down but you're going to feel like you're eating something really, really good, but low calories. So I'm going to spoon a little bit more on this one, and then I'll go back and make sure, but I do want to make sure I kind of put it out even. And one good thing about low-fat yogurt, it is nice and creamy, so it goes on really well. So you don't have to worry about spooning it out and it being too thick. And this is vanilla, and I can really smell it. And if you like vanilla, you know, you could even put a little vanilla in it if you wanted to spunk it up a little bit more with vanilla. The recipe, like I said, you can put either plain vanilla, or it may say if you wanted to, you could put also a lemon vanilla. So it's up to you as far as your taste goes. And I didn't fill the smaller cups as much because I really want you to know we got to also add those lovely strawberries to it. So you don't want everything with the yogurt. So I'm going to just kind of pat it down just a little bit. And you can see it's already looking good. So I have that. And then I have the 4 strawberries that I was telling you about, picking the firm and shiny strawberries. These are washed, and you know that before you eat your fruit, you have to wash it. And you don't want to wash your strawberries until you get ready to eat them because you don't want them to decay, so they won't be any good. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop up 4 more to add to my container over here. And I tell you, I just like to chop it up just by hand, so it's up to you how you can do it. You can use a cutting board, but I just like to kind of keep it to where I just slice it at a very thin slice. And that just keeps it where it's easy when you're using your spoon to spoon it up to eat also. So got 1 more to go. And they smell so good. And when they're in season, to me, they're even better because they're juicy. They taste really good. This is not any sugar to it. And if you let them sit for a little bit, then you've got a good chance of them kind of getting where they have a little bit of liquid to them, which is really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and add the strawberries. And doesn't this look good? And you know, when I call this a strawberry parfait, that doesn't mean that you can, you know, a lot of times people think you just have to eat it at breakfast time, but to me, it can be at brunch. It's a great way to start your day off though, as far as eating your fruit and being able to say that you've had a great breakfast to start you off in the morning. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for something to eat. Keep some yogurt on hand, keep a little bit of granola on hand, and you can make any type of parfait you want to as far as any fruit that you may have. You can add other fruit to it also. So I'm going to keep adding a little bit more to my bigger glasses because I want to make sure I get every bit of this fruit. And so you can see that pretty much will make, because I did double it pretty much the recipe to make it where I could do 4 of these, just to give you an idea. And of course you can see my glass containers, but I do want to show you my plastic containers just to kind of give you an idea of how you can do it both ways. See if I can get this one into here and this one here. Now, I did save just a little bit. Let me do some stacking here. I saved just a little bit of granola, and you don't have to, but I just think it looks so nice. Just a little bit of granola on top just kind of gives that little texture look to the fruit. And you could even save a little bit of your yogurt if you wanted to and put it on top also. So it's really, however you want to layer, it's still a parfait no matter what. Let's see, get a little bit more over here. And as you can see, simple, but it's going to be so, so tasty. So just look at this one, how nice this one looks. But look at this one. I have it in a plastic container, and they both look just as good. So, you know, if you want to make a smaller version, you could. And also, too, you can make these overnight and store them ready for you to have ready on the way to work, and you've got a great breakfast to start your day. So we'll be back in just a little bit where Frank and I will get to taste this. See you back in just a minute on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Frank, we have strawberry parfait, and I'm telling you why I was making it. I was doing everything I could to keep from eating some before you got back in here.
Strawberries are in season right now, so it's time.
It is time
for strawberry parfait.
And to me, this is almost like eating like ice cream, but it's even better for us because it's going to be low fat.
That's good. Just right, too, because it's kind of hot outside.
It is. And that's a good point. This will definitely cool you off when it's warm outside. And when you reach down even further, I have some granola at the bottom too, Frank. So if you like crunchy granola, you'll like it.
I will eventually reach all the way to the bottom.
When you clean it up right, this is really good. Especially when you need to have a little sweet tooth, but eat something like this, you feel like you're not doing so bad on your calories. That is really good. So Frank and I know you're going to check this recipe out on that website because you're going to love this, and you can adapt it any way you want to.
And don't forget, it's time to get geraniums.
Exactly.
And we got some.
And you can sit back, watch your flowers grow, and eat a parfait at the same time.
That would be the perfect thing.
It would be. Frank and I will see you next time on Garden of Lights.